Today, we're diving into a story that's at the very heart of the American Northwest. It's a story about a people, a powerful river, and a loss so big that its echo is still felt today. We're going to explore the story of the Columbia River tribes, the world that existed before, and the silence that came after. You know, this one sentence from Linda George Menis, it just hits you, right? It's like a premonition, this feeling from childhood that something huge, something important was about to be lost forever. It takes us right to the center of this story. And here she is. This is Linda, back in 1956, standing with her grandfather, Chief Tommy Thompson. And behind them, if you look closely, you can see the fishing platforms over the incredible, thundering water of Celilo Falls. In their language, this place was called Y-Am, the echo of falling water. And for so many tribes, it wasn't just the place, it was the center of their entire universe. So what exactly was lost when that echo just disappeared? Let's really take a look at the world that vanished. Now, this wasn't just some pretty fishing spot. I mean, you have to picture a bustling metropolis of culture and trade that had been going for millennia. Tribes like the Yakama, Nez Perce, Warm Springs, and Umatilla all gathered here. The salmon were so thick in the water it was said you could literally walk across the river on their backs. This was their economy, their food, their spiritual center, the whole shebang. And then, it was just gone. The end came with a speed that's almost impossible to wrap your head around. Just months after that photo of Linda was taken, on March 10, 1957, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers closed the gates of the Dalles Dam. A roar that had been heard for miles was silenced in minutes. The water rose, and it swallowed a way of life that had been there for thousands of years. Linda remembers her grandmother watching the flooding on television. And what did she do? She cut her hair. See, for them, this wasn't just losing a place. It was like a death in the family. The grief was that personal, that incredibly deep.
So you have this profound, immediate grief, but the long-term consequences, well, they were devastatingly practical. When the falls were gone, the entire economic foundation of the tribes was just shattered, basically overnight.
Okay, this right here is a really crucial point. The U.S. government paid some money, sure, but it was for the physical fishing sites, the land that was now underwater. What it did not do and legally could not do was purchase the tribe's fishing rights, which were guaranteed in treaties forever. But here's the catch. By destroying the falls, the government made it impossible to even use those rights, which just collapsed the entire economic system built on salmon. And a shock like that doesn't just stay in the past. It echoes. It compounds over generations, creating these deep, persistent gaps that we can see so clearly in the data today.
You can see that ripple effect right here in education. I mean, when your traditional economy gets wiped out, higher education becomes a critical path to new opportunities, right? But look at this gap. Almost 80% of American Indian and Alaska Native adults have less than a bachelor's degree. That has a huge impact on economic mobility.
And it extends to homeownership, which, as we know, is one of the main ways families build wealth in America. The rate for Native households is only 54%. That's lagging more than 20 points behind white households. That makes it so much harder to build and pass on wealth to the next generation. Well, all of this, it's all connected. These economic struggles lead directly to health outcomes. Native Americans have the highest rate of people without health insurance of any group in the entire country. And that's made even worse by the fact that the Indian Health Service has been underfunded for decades. It all adds up to create these huge barriers to getting even basic care. So you have all these pre-existing challenges, and then the COVID-19 pandemic hits. It created a crisis inside of a crisis, and the data here is just heartbreaking. Native communities saw significantly higher rates of infection, of hospitalization, and, tragically, of death. The pandemic really exposed the devastating consequences of decades of inequity. But here's the thing. This is not just a story of loss and disparity. Not at all. It is absolutely a story of incredible resilience, of proactive, community-led solutions. The tribes are not waiting for someone to save them. They are actively building their own future.
A central force in all this work is the CRITFC. That's the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission. The 4 treaty tribes, the Yakama, Warm Springs, Umatilla, and Nez Perce, formed it to be their collective voice to fight for restoring the fisheries and to preserve the culture that the river has always sustained.
And this isn't just talk. It's real, on-the-ground action with tangible results. On the left, you see transitional shelters that are providing immediate housing right now. And on the right, you see a vision for the future,
the Glorious Center, which is a planned hub designed to provide all kinds of services to address houselessness and its root causes.
But even as they work so hard to rebuild, the tribes are now facing another massive threat, and once again, it targets the very river and the salmon that are the lifeblood of their culture.
Climate change isn't some abstract future problem here. It's happening right now. The water's getting warmer, which stresses the salmon. Summer river flows are lower, which threatens their migration. The ocean itself is changing. All of this puts immense pressure on the very fish that tribes have worked so hard to bring back. It's a direct threat to their entire way of life.
And to really get why this is so serious, you have to understand the concept of first foods. These are the resources, the water, the salmon, the deer, roots and berries that are at the absolute core of tribal spiritual and cultural life. So when the salmon are threatened, the culture itself is threatened. It's all connected.
So how do you even begin to confront a modern crisis like climate change? Well, for the tribes, the answer lies in an ancient way of thinking. It's a Walla Walla concept called supaniques. It basically means turning a problem around and looking at it from every single angle to get a deep, complete understanding before you act. It's a really powerful way to tackle a challenge this complex.
In this whole approach is guided by this absolutely profound piece of traditional wisdom, making every single decision with the well-being of the seventh generation in mind. Think about that. It's about thinking beyond our own lifetimes to make sure there's a sustainable future for those who aren't even here yet.
And that really brings us to the final, crucial question. The story of Celilo Falls is a powerful reminder of what happens when we don't think ahead. As we face our own modern challenges, this question isn't just for the tribes of the Columbia River, it's for every single one of us. Are we making decisions for the seventh generation?